What's going on, Husker Nation? Welcome into the Husker Gutter Call and Show. It is just me tonight. There is no Justin. He is doing a charity event at his job for some boxing matches tonight. So he is doing that. Good work for him. But I'll go ahead and get the link dropped. There it is, the call in line. Call in with whatever you guys want to talk about tonight. Obviously, we got some news today that we'll cover here in just a little bit, but want to give you a chance to call in if you'd like. And then we got playoffs that are starting here and actually right about now. So if you want to talk some playoff football, we can obviously do that as well. But really, the time is yours. Whatever it is that you want to talk about, we will go ahead. Bring Mike in because he just called in. What's going on, Mike?
Done.
Oh, it's trying to add you to the stage. Let me see here. There we go. What's going on, Mike?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Oh, not too bad. A little disappointed we didn't get Elijah Robinson, but I think I'm more concerned about one of Rhule's comments today in his press conference. And maybe I'm taking it out of context. I don't know. That's very possible. But
which comment? Because I've got them all written down.
I think I'm more concerned about his comment that we're waiting until after the bowl game to get a defensive line coach. Didn't we do that last year and we see how that turned out?
Yeah, that was something that struck me a little bit as well.
I mean, I understand this day and age, not all players go to a school to play for a coach, but we play December 31st. The portal opens January 2nd. So literally there's a day for a coach to come in, evaluate what we need defensive line-wise, and start talking to players. This doesn't seem like it's going to work out very well with me.
And worst case scenario, you're in a situation like last year where you're getting a guy who's coming in super late, like Terry Braden.
Which, by the way, Terry Braden went to South Florida.
Yeah, good for him. I don't think he was set up very well for success here, but
I don't know.
I 100% understand your concern there. I as well, highly concerned about that. Let me ask you this. Does it seem like it's not as much of a priority for Coach Rhule, in your opinion, based on his last hire being in a similar situation where it's super late in the process?
Yeah, to me, it kind of seems like it's getting brushed under the rug that I don't know if he's thinking that, Roy Manning and Rob can, come up with something scheme-wise that's going to help offset the difference. I don't know, but yes, to me, it kind of seems like it's getting brushed under the rug.
Did you watch Coach Rob's interview on Sports Nightly last night?
No, I did not. I did not catch it. Rob Ulrich? Yes, I caught most of that. Yes, I did. I did it. Okay. I did that one.
They asked him a question, and I'm glad you brought up how they might be able to do something schematically. So they asked him a question, and it was something along the lines of your defensive line at San Diego State was a little undersized. Are you of the belief you need to have like a big physical defensive line? Talking about like the 300-pounders. And he basically was like, we knew that was our weakness, so we did a lot of stunts and a lot of twists and things like that. And to me, that's when my ears kind of perked up, because that's exactly what Coach Butler was doing, was a bunch of stunts and a bunch of twists. And when you guessed wrong is when you saw the big runs against Penn State, against Iowa, against who else? Michigan, who went crazy that day. And that's my concern about when you're trying to scheme up good defensive line play, because you don't have the size to just say man on a man, a hat on a hat, and let those linebackers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did catch that comment. That was kind of concerning to me as well. But I don't know. Rhule keeps saying that we want to attack the portal, but you got to start with the lines. And I don't know if he's hoping that his olden days of being able to coach the defensive line is going to be enough to offset some of this or what. But that was, like I say, those two things, the one you mentioned and his comment today, were concerning to me.
I'll add too. My concern is they just hire Phil Simpson as a defensive tackles coach, because the tackles and the edges are two different coaches in Coach Rob's defensive scheme. That's why they brought Roy Manning to coach the edges. My fear is Phil Simpson's going to be your defensive tackles coach,
Right.
because we're missing out on Elijah Robinson, and he's never coached defensive tackles. He's never played the position. And quite frankly, he was your edge jack linebacker coach last year, and Dasan McCullough was quite, in my opinion, I think Dasan McCullough was a bust for how much hype he had. Willis McGahee, he disappeared off the face of the earth, and he's probably transferring. I would expect that at least. And then Dylan Rogers, who's been here for going on his 4th year next year, and just now got into the games somewhat.
Right.
And that was because Dasan got hurt.
Right.
So he's shown the ability to develop the talent. You brought him back for his recruiting chops, and the guys he gets, yeah, they're good, but they're not for his position. He's getting guys for wide receiver. He's getting guys for defensive backs. We need dudes up front. We just don't have them.
Yeah. Here's my other thought process on this. Could it be the fact, because Rhule's worked with him at least one place, if not a couple, could it be the fact that maybe they're going to bring in a guy like a Frank Okam or Okam, however you pronounce it, and he's kind of working, and he's kind of working maybe, out of the spotlight until after the bowl game, like he's contacting potential transfers and stuff like that, could potentially get offered by Nebraska and stuff, but maybe I don't even know, maybe he can't even do that if he's not on staff. I don't know.
Frank Okam, I believe, I believe he's the assistant defensive line coach of the Dallas Cowboys right now.
Is he? Okay.
I think he left Toledo, because I know when Coach Rhule was looking for a new defensive tackle or defensive line coach after Terrence Knighton left, I know Frank was someone they were looking at. And I know when we were talking about Vince Kara's coming potentially as a defensive coordinator, this was a guy, I believe I saw you in the comments one night mention, as well as Justin and I, like this would be a good option for Nebraska.
So he just went there then.
I believe it's his first year as their assistant defensive line coach.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but he's not like a big name guy, so there's not just a lot of ready-made information on him. I'm trying to find something right now as we're chatting. I'll throw up his Wikipedia page here and see what it says.
The other possible, and again, I haven't done my research on this, so maybe I'm completely wrong. It was just something that a friend of mine had mentioned to me yesterday. Another possible curveball on this is supposedly the defensive line coach from Michigan and Rhule have worked together at some place. So I don't know if maybe that's a potential as well, or I don't even remember.
Before I tell you that, Frank Okam or Okam is the assistant defensive line coach of the Houston Texans, not the Dallas Cowboys. That's current. He was hired in February of this year.
Okay.
Lou Esposito, that's his name, right? The Michigan defensive line coach.
Yes, I believe so.
That's his name. I'm looking at his. Yeah, it is. I'm looking at his bio right now, just out of curiosity. He's someone, and here's the thing and I'm not going to get into the whole Sharon Moore discussion unless you want to, but I think whoever they hire at Michigan is cleaning house, in my opinion, because of the stigma that is there right now.
Yeah.
But looking at his resume, I don't see any connection he'd have to Coach Rhule.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I've been worked the last couple of days. So.
Western Michigan, Ferris State, Davenport, Western Michigan, then out of nowhere, he's the Michigan D-line coach, but he's only been there.
And Michigan's had some decent D-lines. I don't know how long he's been there, but
he was hired in 2024, but the dude is a really good recruiter. I mean, he got Titan Davis, who Nebraska was trying to get in this past recruiting cycle.
Yeah. So
here's my other question too.
Yeah.
David Lose at San Diego State.
Okay.
He's their interior defensive line coach. I was looking through his resume. I think he might be an option just based on his history with Coach Rob. They've been together since Idaho.
Right.
But looking through his resume, the guy has not really done much. It's a least impressive resume than Coach Rob, in my opinion. He's only been a defensive line coach at Portland State and then this past year at San Diego State.
But
He's
wouldn't you
got
think?
no proven track record of development, no proven track record of recruiting. Looking at their defensive line, last season, their top 6 defensive linemen were all edge rushers that came from the tutelage of Roy Manning, who obviously is our edge rushers coach. His 2 defensive tackles combined for 30 tackles on the year, and that's including assisted tackles.
But wouldn't you think that if they were going to bring him in, don't you think they would have done it when they brought in Roy Manning?
You would think so, yeah, absolutely. I'm just wondering if maybe if it is potentially him, are they letting him finish out? Because I think they haven't played a bowl game yet. They don't play until later this month,
True.
and maybe they're letting him finish it up there. But from a schematic standpoint, this is would be my selling point. It would be like from a schematic standpoint, he knows what coach he wants. He knows the expectations. He knows the terminology, and he can help kind of integrate the other staff with the terminology and understanding what the defense is. It helps ease that transition. That's great, but man, there's no track record to speak of. There's just nothing there. I mean, his only 2 Power 4 jobs or Power 5 jobs were Oregon State and Washington State, and he wasn't even an on-field coach. He was an analyst and an assistant is what they labeled him at Washington State. There's just no on-field coaching in the Power 4 level. In 1 year at SDSU, or maybe 2.
Yeah, man, I don't know, and I don't know. I didn't watch San Diego State this year, so I don't know how good their defensive line actually was. But yeah, I
I've
don't know.
watched a little bit of their film.
There's a lot of questions, that's for sure. And for this, personally, for this to be a make or break kind of season for Rhule, I don't know. It kind of really makes you wonder what their plan is, what their thinking and stuff is. But I guess I'm not paid enough to worry about that. So,
well, I think you're 100% valid in your concerns. I think some flags are starting to go up for some fans across the landscape, honestly, with Coach Rhule. And to me, you fired Terry Braden. You should have, like, based on how quickly every other coaching search went, like, they let go of Donnie Raiola. Within 30 minutes, they had his replacement. They let go of Butler. Within 6 days, they had his replacement.
yeah.
And then actually, they really had 2 replacements for Raiola because they hired Jeep Wade and they hired Lonnie Teasley because he's going to be an assistant offensive line coach and recruiting guy.
And he's a run game coordinator.
Yeah, which I love. And now he's getting his players entering the portal too, which I don't know if you've seen that, but he's I think his starting right tackle and his starting right guard are both in the portal.
And I think there's a couple of Georgia Tech linemen too that have entered too.
Yes. Yeah, there's one that entered immediately, like the day we hired Jeep, but he was kicked off the team, so that was kind of a foregone conclusion. Their starter at center, I think he started the last 4 games of the year. Last 4 games of the year, he started at center. He entered the portal, and then I believe a right guard or right tackle. Portal, one of the 2.
But yeah. Well, that's all I had for tonight. I'm gonna let you go, and I'll listen on the show. But that's all I had.
All righty. Thank you for calling in, Mike.
All right. Thanks. Have a good one.
You too.
Yep.
All righty. Just drop the link back in the chat for whoever wants to call in. Thank you, Mike, for calling in. So one of the things I was going to talk about, we jumped right into on that first call, was the Elijah Robinson news. And so my plan was to kind of recap. Let me fix that background real quick. My plan was to kind of recap the last couple of weeks with Nebraska with Elijah Robinson. So even before too, actually. So when Rhule first was hired as Nebraska's head coach, he tried to get Elijah Robinson away from Texas A&M. He wanted him to come here and be the defensive line coach and potentially like a co-DC run game coordinator tag. But then Syracuse offered him the full-time DC job. He took that job, and that's understandably so. That's a true, like, your whole hands are on all part of the defense at Syracuse, whereas if he came to Nebraska back when Rhule was first hired, he's not the primary guy. It was obviously going to be Tony White. And then Terrence Knighton left last year, obviously. Tony White left. So Rhule definitely put out some feelers to Elijah Robinson to try and get him to come back to Nebraska again as the defensive line coach or like / co-DC / run game coordinator, similar tag. Didn't work out. And then Robinson gets demoted, as we all know, here a couple of weeks ago. Appears he's headed to LSU. doesn't go to LSU, because then Nebraska enters the chat. They have a very lucrative offer, probably verbally, nothing on paper. Hey, we'll pay you X amount. It was probably north of $1 million to come be Nebraska's defensive line coach. They'll throw an associate head coach or some other tag on there to kind of substantiate paying him that much. It seemed like things were trending Nebraska's way for the last 4 or 5 days after that news broke on Football Scoop. And then A&M enters the chat. And A&M's coming in, and they're trying to get him back. And Penn State, his alma mater, is trying to get him as well. I don't think it was as serious between Robinson and Penn State as it was with Robinson and Nebraska or Robinson and Texas A&M. And I threw that post out on X, and I was like, hey, it's definitely like a Nebraska Texas A&M battle. And then, of course, the Texas A&M on-3 writer is like, definitely not. A&M has made no contact, which I knew for sure that was not true. Like, I knew A&M was trying to sway him. And as we sit here today, Football Scoop finally confirms it. Texas A&M is in deep contract negotiations with Elijah Robinson. It's down to Nebraska and Texas A&M per Football Scoop. They're expecting a decision no later than Monday, but he's not coming to Nebraska. That's fairly obvious because, like what Mike pointed out in the call, Coach Rhule just said today they're not planning to really do much with the defensive line coaching position until after the bowl game, which to me makes absolutely no sense. Why you would not be doing something to address that position right now. I know Coach Rhule likes coaching the defensive line. That's all good and dandy. You can still go hire a defensive line coach and coach the defensive line while he's getting integrated into your system, getting used to all the players and all the new coaches that he's going to be working with. So to me, Coach Rhule saying we're not hiring a defensive line coach, we're not doing anything with that position until after the bowl game, is completely irresponsible. But outside of that, the other hires, they all look great. Lonnie Teasley is a phenomenal recruiter. You could certainly question his development as an offensive line coach, but they brought him here to get dudes on the offensive line. Jeep Wade will be the one that develops them. Manning as the edge coach. I love the edges at San Diego State last year combined for 28 sacks. Nebraska had 13 as a team. Our top edge rusher had 3.5 sacks this past season. That's a great hire. Manning has a proven track record at Michigan and Oklahoma, and I believe one other Power 4 program as a recruiter and a talent developer. And then the other thing I was going to talk about, so I'm going to cover a couple of topics. I know the playoffs is going on, then I'll hit some comments, and then we'll probably wrap it up if we don't get any calls. I know the playoffs are going, so I'm not expecting a bunch of people to want to call in because they're all watching the playoffs. So there is some recruiting news that I wanted to dive into, though, that is very important for Nebraska because it is actually a 2026 recruit. And for you regular viewers, you've tuned into our show pretty consistently for the last however long. And you've heard us talk about this guy probably the last month and a half ago, Dylan Berrymon. So yeah, I want to say it was probably about a month and a half ago we talked about him. So he was supposed to come to Nebraska for an official visit back in November for the Iowa game. His high school team, ended up making a deep playoff run, so that visit did not happen. My big concern was, does he sign in December? And if he does, obviously you're screwed. But somehow, some way, he has not signed. Somehow, some way, Nebraska, I think, is the odds-on favorite at this point, despite not having a defensive line coach. The former Texas commit, and he's a consensus four-star. He was committed to Texas, and now he's down to LSU and Nebraska, and it's been that way for the last month and a half. 247 has a top 100 overall player. He's a top 15 D lineman nationally. His composite score is a top 200 overall player, top 25 D lineman nationally. In fact, I'll actually pull up some of his, here's his recruiting profile real quick. So you can see there, big defensive tackle, the position of need for Nebraska. If you're going to go out and pay a little above market for a high school defensive tackle, this would be the guy you go and do it with. 6'2", 6'3", 330 pounds. He's an absolute mountain of a man. And then we'll look at his offers too. Let me get those pulled up here. That's a hell of an offer list. Texas Tech, playoff team. Texas, borderline playoff team. Arizona State was in the playoffs last year. Florida sucks. Houston, they're decent. LSU, pretty decent, even though Brian Kelly failed there. They're still a damn good program. Miami, obviously, they're playing right now. Missouri, good SEC team, usually. Obviously, Nebraska, Ole Miss, playoff team. Oregon, playoff team. Texas A&M, playoff team. USC was kind of close to a playoff team. So I love Dylan Berrymont's film. I love our chances to land him. I would probably say when is a signing day in January? Or no, it's the first Wednesday in February. Come that signing day, I would not be surprised at all if he is a Husker. So if/when Nebraska can pull him out of Louisiana, this will be a big, big win for Coach Rhule, whoever our new defensive line coach is as well. Typically, and this is why it's a big recruiting win, or could be a big recruiting win for Nebraska. Typically, the top players from Louisiana do not leave the state of Louisiana. LSU likes to put a gigantic wall around that state and say our best players are not leaving. Ironically, I think their best player in the class of 2027 is going to be leaving, because if you haven't heard yet, Nebraska is, I think, pulling away from the pack for a 5-star 2027 tight end, Ahmad Hudson. He's going to be in Nebraska at the end of January visiting for the basketball game. Why? Because he's a borderline 5-star basketball recruit and a 5-star tight end in the class of 2027. And Nebraska is one of the few schools who has offered Ahmad Hudson an opportunity to play both sports in college. Right now, you got a top 15 basketball program, and you have what you appear to be, hopefully, a football program that is rising. Now, that is up for debate, in my opinion, but it's a unique opportunity for him to come and play both sports at Nebraska. Plus, he has a great relationship with Trey Taylor, Tavon Ellis, and probably the next guy we're going to talk about, who I think is going to commit to Nebraska here in the next month and a half or so. 3-star/4-star kind of depends on your recruiting service. 3-star being on, I believe, 247. I think On3 has him as a 4-star. Class of 2027 running back from Melville, New York. Xavier Bala announcing on January 10th at the Navy All-American game. This would be Nebraska's second running back commit from the Northeast. This would be your third running back commit from the Northeast. Jamal Rhule, Amir Brown, and then potentially Xavier Bala. All from the Northeast, which I've stressed this region substantially for 3 years now, because that is where EJ Barthel has deep, deep recruiting ties. North Carolina, New York, Pennsylvania. Now look, you've got a bunch of dudes, elite running backs, at least the high school level, that are going to be coming to Lincoln. So Nebraska is battling some ACC schools, naturally. Syracuse, who's been a thorn in our side for a substantial amount of time, it feels like. Boston College and Virginia, along with fellow Big Ten foe, Ohio State. Oh, I got my buddy Cole calling in. What up, Cole?
What up?
How are you, sir?
I'm good. Can you hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you. You watching playoffs?
I was a little bit. Had some things going around in the house, and I'm gonna pull back up on my phone right now. I did want to touch up on a little bit, kind of sidetracking you a little bit, but I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you a quick question. So with the whole Elijah Robinson hire potentially looking like it's going to fall through the cracks now, my question would be, obviously you've seen the press conference today. Do you think that Rhule's going to hire a defensive line coach now, and why he's waiting after the bowl game is because he wants to make sure, obviously, he gets this right, but he's going to have a lot more influence with the defensive line going forward, it sounds like. So it kind of almost sounds like maybe he wants to move in the direction where he does get somebody in that he feels like he can kind of like bounce off of. But also, like, you know how coaches are when they get hired, they kind of want to do their own thing. They kind of want to lead their own room. So it might kind of turn certain coaches off from it. So he wants to find a guy that will allow him to have his hands in it.
Well, I remember a comment he made also today was kind of like letting his coaches coach.
Yes, and
And
that's kind of what he says he's kind of been doing. And he said he should have stepped in. He should
Earlier.
have been stepping in earlier in his tenure, I guess. And it kind of seems like going forward, he's going to be doing a lot more hands-on coaching, specifically of the defensive line.
I'm not opposed to that, actually. In fact, Nick Saban was a very hands-on head coach at Bama with the secondary because that was his specialty. It's very common, or it used to be before the NIL and rev share era, where the head coaches would be very hands-on with multiple position groups, but they always kind of favored that group that got their start. Nick Saban, for example, with defensive backs, or even Coach Frost. Granted, you can say whatever you want about him, but he was pretty hands-on with the quarterbacks. I'm not opposed to Coach Rhule doing that, but I don't want him to overlook candidates that could bring talent with them, because I think that is incredibly important in this day and age. I don't want to be in a situation where we're rolling into the portal season without a defensive line coach. At the very least, that can help recruit, because we saw that last season with Terry Braden, where you had to wait until the Chiefs got done with the Super Bowl. He wasn't showing up until February. The portal's already over. You've already signed your entire recruiting class. For example, before you jumped on, we were talking about 4-star defensive tackle Dylan Berrymon coming in for a visit in January. He's a top 100 recruit at defensive tackle. 6'2", 330, can be an immediate impact guy on that rotation. How can you convince him to sign in February without a position coach? And I feel like I feel like it's negligent almost to not be trying to get a defensive line coach right now, unless you're making a splash hire.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
And I kind of feel like maybe with the Elijah Robinson thing, maybe it did feel like there for a second that it was truly going towards Nebraska hiring him. And now that he didn't, not saying he hasn't been talking to other coaches as like a plan B thing, but maybe getting as serious with it, because like you can have maybe like a few guys on your list per se, but maybe it's like one of those things where it's like there is a few guys on the list, and now that we know that we're not getting Elijah Robinson, or at least that it looks like we're not getting Elijah Robinson, maybe now you start diving into your list of 2, 3, 4, 5 guys and start those rounds of interviews, I guess, is what along the lines that I'm thinking.
They certainly have vetted multiple candidates. I know they interviewed, or at least had preliminary discussions with Auburn's defensive line coach, who re-signed a contract with Auburn. And I was talking about this earlier, was do they bring the San Diego State defensive line coach with him? Because that'd be like the most underwhelming of underwhelming hires, in my opinion. Just very little track record. This is where a very inexperienced and very young defensive coordinator and Rob Orich comes in. Is he doesn't have much of a coaching tree to go off of either. So they have to go, in my opinion, they have to go outside to find a defensive line coach. And I know they're probably going to bring in guys throughout the bowl prep leading up to after the bowl game. And I would imagine, if I'm interpreting Coach Rhule's comments, is it wasn't we're going to wait till after the bowl game to interview. It was we're going to wait until after the bowl game to make our final decision. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, so I guess what does that mean to you? Like, how far along in that hiring process do you think he is? Do you think it was a situation where he's kind of caught, out of left field, Texas A&M comes in, he feels like he's about to get Elijah Robinson? Or do you think this is something he's known for a little bit, and he's just like, well, let's just get through the bowl game before we really sit down and make those decisions?
Oh man, that's a hard one. I think they felt pretty confident they were getting Elijah Robinson, if I'm being honest, because that report came out, and I believe that there is strategic timing from these announcements for termination of coaches and things like that, and reports coming out of coaches interviewing at other places. That report came out that Nebraska was interviewing Elijah Robinson, and then that later that day, or I think the next day, is when they fired Terry Braden. And I think that's because they were fairly confident they had him not locked
Agreed.
up, but they were close to getting a deal done.
Oh,
Texas A&M
agreed.
has disgusting oil money. I'm willing to bet he's making 1.4, 1.5 to go there and be a defensive line coach. And they're going to slap some co-DC tag or, associate head coach tag on him to validate paying him that much. But I believe they had 3 or 4 backup options already kind of in that process.
And not saying that they weren't going to get rid of him anyways, but do you feel like, because the whole Elijah Robinson story kind of started breaking while Coach Braden was still coaching the defensive line, he was still reported at practice when those stories were breaking. So I wonder if that story kind of breaking kind of led to him wondering, and then those conversations happened afterwards. I mean, kudos to Rhule, because in these days you almost have to start finding your next coach before you find. I mean, we're seeing all over college football. Penn State fires James Franklin. They don't have a plan for 50 plus days. Meanwhile, Michigan State fires the guy and hires a coach hours later.
Yep.
So these days, you almost have to start the process of hiring a new coach before you fire one. But obviously, I think in this instance, it could have been a situation where maybe you started the process and maybe the story started kind of getting out a little early. And then he was like, oh, let me go ahead and bounce out of here.
Yeah. Can you imagine being in Terry Braden's shoes? You're coaching defensive line at 7 a.m. practice, and by noon you're on your phone and your wife or whoever's texting you. And it's like, hey, Nebraska's interviewing for your position. Did you lose your job? And he's like, no. And then an hour later, hey, you're fired. I think that report pushed pushed the timeline up a little bit. But I believe Nebraska really thought they had a chance with Elijah Robinson. I, for one, was never totally sold on that being a possibility because he's burned Rhule twice since Rhule's got to Nebraska. He's tried to get him twice, and he's leveraged it for more money or a better opportunity, which I don't fault him by any means, but that's what happened this time again. I mean, Rhule comes out, or the report comes out, Rhule's interviewing Elijah Robinson. 2 weeks go by, and we're sitting here, and it's today when we finally get an update from Football Scoop that, we might hear something, or we're expected to hear something by Monday, and it's down to Nebraska and Texas A&M. And then later that day, Coach Rhule says, we're not hiring anybody until after the bowl game. So put 2 and 2 together. It's not Elijah Robinson.
Yeah, and that brings up an interesting point, because if he's already done this to us before, you got to start wondering if it's on purpose, like you say, if he's trying to get leverage for more pay. But also, he just came from Syracuse, where the head coach is Fran Brown, who was also under the Matt Rhule coaching tree. And one thing I've known about Fran Brown from just watching how he talks about, or he kind of dances around when it comes up to Coach Rhule, is I get the sense that he really doesn't like Coach Rhule. I don't know. I can't say that's completely, take that with a grain of salt, but that's just kind of the vibe I get right there.
You and I have talked about that before too, where it does give that vibe that there maybe is just a little tension, and I don't know what.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know. I mean, I know you always hit me up with names like the South Dakota running back that entered the portal. You were the first to tell me about Vince Karras, and that was like a month ago. It felt like.
Yeah.
Do you have names on the top of your head of defensive line coaches you'd want? Because I don't have many other than Frank Oakham, which I know I've mentioned him to you before, but that's the only one.
The thing is I believe Frank Oakham right now is the assistant defensive line coach for the Texans.
Yep.
And then before that, he was at Toledo. I don't know obviously he was with Vince Karras at Toledo, but I don't know what exactly went down at Toledo, because to me, I don't know if you're a defensive line coach, even at a place like Toledo, that has to be a better job than an assistant defensive line coach for an NFL team, right? Or are they kind of like pretty parallel?
I think assistant position coaches in the NFL is the most useless thing there is.
Yeah.
I don't know what they do.
Like, you don't have your own room. You're almost trying to teach somebody else's technique, is what I would assume.
Well, I know when we brought in Coach Rhule, everyone was like, "Oh, well, he's assistant O-line coach in the NFL." And I'm like, for the worst offensive line in the NFL,
yes,
starters. And then,
absolutely,
he's never had his own room. He's never even been in a head, he's never been the O-line coach at any college program outside of Nebraska. And then, you'd hear the bigger media go, "Oh, he was at Notre Dame." Yeah, he was the assistant O-line coach at Notre Dame for a Hall of Fame offensive line coach. Of course, his resume is going to look a little better when that's who your head O-line coach is.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm just watching this Alabama-Oklahoma game right now. So I believe OU marched down on their opening drive, scored, and Alabama's close to going 3-and-out. They got 3rd and 10. They just had to burn a timeout because they were just really confused. And I don't have the volume on, but I'm sure that crowd's going nuts.
Oh, it's going nuts.
And
I think Oklahoma's going to blow.
Yeah, I think OU's probably going to win. I think it's going to be a close game. They beat Alabama at Alabama earlier this year, and then they beat them last year. So Kalen DeBoer's 0-2 against Alabama, and now they're on the road in a college football playoff environment. I'm sure it's nuts.
Brutal.
But yeah, as far as the whole Elijah Robinson thing goes and hiring a defensive line coach, I don't have any specific names. I haven't looked too in depth for defensive line coaches. I mean, we need somebody.
I think we need somebody that can recruit, but more importantly, bring a big defensive tackle with.
Yeah, you just got to wonder.
There's not a lot of names. I'm not going to sit up here and act like I'm some expert on defensive tackle coaches.
No.
I mean, everyone knows Elijah Robinson because of his track record, but I know Frank Oakham because Nebraska interviewed him after Terrence Knighton. But I'm not an expert on D-line coaches. I don't think we're going to go steal a defensive line coach from one of these playoff teams. That's not what we're waiting for. I'd be shocked.
Do we bring Terrence Knighton back?
I mean, they're all getting fired after next season.
Yeah.
Tony White, Coop, Terrence, they're all getting fired. So it'd be worth it.
Maybe he brings James Williams back.
Oh, screw that.
That would be ridiculous.
That'd be hilarious.
That would so many people would have to scrub. So many people, including James Williams, would have to go and scrub their entire Twitters from this last fall.
He'd have that commitment post. I'm glad to be back. Loved Husker Nation. It's like I never left.
Screenshot on Twitter. I had a funny joke. Because going into the last game, he had 1 sack all year, and I was gonna screenshot his stats, but then he got a sack, so then he had 2 sacks for the year. But my idea was gonna be to screenshot his stats from ESPN showing that he has 1 sack, and you know how his nickname was Sack Man.
Yeah,
he's being quite literal, Sack Man, as in singular sack.
That'd be funny.
But it didn't play out that way.
I don't know what his deal was too. Why did he snap like that? I don't know. Maybe a CTE.
Are you talking about somebody or the audio's doubled now? So hold on. Maybe I need to back out.
We usually get an echo at about the 30-minute mark. and I think we're at like 37 minutes.
Okay,
So
do you need me to back out and then come back in?
I'll do it on my end. Hold on just a second
Okay.
here.
Okay.
You're going to be in control for like
Okay.
5 seconds.
All right. Let me do it. I know ball. No, sorry. I was
It's
just
pretty
letting
quick.
everybody know.
I'm going to bring Bone in because he's been in the waiting room for a minute. We can have a 3-way convo going.
Okay.
What's going on, Bone Led?
Not much.
I think it's still
I do want to say,
double.
I think we need a D-line coach, something, along the lines of Inoke Beckterfield or Glenn Schumann, with those kind of track records.
Just a second, Bone. Cole, they're saying you're echoing. If you want to back out and come back in.
Hello?
Yep, you're good, Bone. Repeat your question. You're talking about Glenn Schumann at Georgia?
Yeah, and I think it's Inaki Beckterfield of Vanderbilt. We need defensive line coaches, like that. I mean, if we could find one that is comparable to those two as far as like performance and stuff, that would be probably the ideal candidate.
Well, I don't think anyone is going to take Glenn Schumann away from Georgia.
No, I didn't say.
Oh, like you mean like someone like that, though?
Yeah, like comparable, like the same kind of track record.
I'm trying to think. I'm not huge on I'm not well versed, I guess, on defensive line coaches, but is it unrealistic? Let me ask anyone this. Is it unrealistic to throw a wad of cash at Tony Tuioti and see if he'll leave work and come back?
No. What about the old? I think he was the old LSU coach. What was his name?
Ed Orgeron?
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know. He's been out of the coaching a long time, and I think there's some off-field issues with him. And
okay. All right. Well,
I'm not 100% sure.
For me, Ed Orgeron would be electric, but I do think there is a lot of off the field issues, and I'm not sure how well he would mesh with our coaching staff.
That's a good point too. He's just not a good culture fit here.
Oh, that's true. Well, I want to say this. What I did notice is I understand Rhule wants to have his hand in some things. I mean, get that. But it seemed like this year we were awfully predictable a lot of times.
Yes.
Okay, and the thing is if we're that predictable, don't you think something else needs to be done?
Well, that's why you're getting a new defensive coordinator and a new edge coach and a new offensive.
For them, yes, but for them to do it. If Rhule does it, won't it be the same history?
What do you mean if Rhule does it?
If Rhule has his hands in it, won't some of the results be the same?
I don't know. I think he was more, and he admitted as much today, where he was more hands off this past season.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw his press conference today, but he basically acknowledged, like, I was not as involved on the defensive line as I should have been. It was too late by the time I started getting involved. But I think that's where, if you hired an experienced defensive line coach in this example, you wouldn't have had to have been so hands-on, because Terry Braden is not an experienced defensive line coach.
Well, that's true. But
he's not even a defensive lineman. He was a quarterback in college. He was the assistant defensive backs coach in Kansas City for 8 years prior to moving to the assistant defensive line coach. And by the time he'd moved to the defensive line, they had Chris Jones, George Karlaftis. Who else did they have? Number 90. I just drew blank on his name.
Not sure.
And they had Frank Clark as well. So, like, you had all pros on 2 of your 3 positions on defensive line. He had nothing to do with their development. To me, that hire never, ever made sense.
Also, I think
I noticed the main problem I think with our defensive line this year is we seem to be kind of small. I don't want to use the word weak, but outmatched. And we were getting pushed around and bullied.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the fault because they're so young, or the fault of the weightlifting?
I think it's a fault of being very young, because outside of Elijah Judy, you had RVP, who was a sophomore, Williams Nawarni, a redshirt freshman, Keona Davis was a sophomore. Cole, help me out here, or Bonelet. Who else was on the defensive line?
Oh,
Gabe Moore, redshirt freshman.
Jalen George. Did you say Jalen George?
Yeah, Jalen George, who disappeared.
They said he disappeared completely off the depth chart going into the bowl game.
Oh, yes. I meant to grab that earlier. I'm glad you mentioned that.
why? I don't understand. When some people start, or they're playing in the lineup regularly, why do they completely get removed out of the lineup? I mean, if they're not injured,
There's not. Jalen George was getting his ass ran over pretty consistently. Once we got through the non-con, I think it was the Michigan game where he literally got ran over by somebody, and I was like, that is absolutely insane. That
he was the one during Houston Christian game.
Is that what he was taught though? I mean, is it something he was doing? He was taught by Donnie, or what?
No, he's just too small. He's a 6'2", 280-pound defensive end.
There's this one that I saw, this defensive end from Penn State, I think. I think he was joining the portal.
Yeah, he won't be coming to Nebraska. He's going to get a lot of money.
Oh, well, it'd be nice to get him, but what
were you saying, Cole?
Jalen George was the one that had the running back at Houston Christian, Xation Edwards. He had him tackled in the backfield. What?
Yes, yeah, that was him.
He had him tackled in the backfield, and then he broke it, reverse field, and that was their only touchdown of the game.
Yeah, it was a big touchdown. And I remember like, oh, it's not a big deal. It's a blowout. But then you realized who it was, and you're like, that guy's supposed to be a rotational defensive lineman for you, and he just got ran out.
Yeah, and now how much was Elijah Pritchard really utilized? I understand he was a liability, but at the same time, he was producing results too.
Elijah
so do you live with the consequences, or what?
Talking about like Elijah Pritchard at left tackle?
Yes.
100%. Yeah, that was a big issue. I know early in the year where more or less Coach Rhule did not want to play him, and for how bad Gunner was doing, and Teddy Prohaska for that matter, it was Coach Rhule who came down, and it was finally like, that's enough. Like, start playing Elijah Pritchard. We'll deal with the issues and let him work through it. And that's eventually what happened. And he was your best offensive lineman outside of Rocco Spindler by the end of the year. He was, I don't want to say a top tackle, but he was looking or showing signs that he could be a top tackle in this league. He's your most athletic, that's for sure.
Yeah. I agree with that. But it just seemed like, there was like no development on a lot of the guys, and stuff like that. So if Rocco leaves, what are we going to have on offensive line to even stand the chance to guard a quarterback or anything to that effect?
Well, hold up,
protect the quarterback
here. I just pulled up the depth chart here. This is the most
Hello.
recent depth chart. It was posted by Luke Mullen. I don't know who that is. Lincoln Journal Star writer. So left tackles Elijah Pritchett and Grant Bricks. That's your 1-2. Left guard is obviously Henry Latovsky. We just lost Bone for a minute there. Just got disconnected. Left guard is Henry Latovsky, Jason Pachak. Centers Justin Evans and Jake Peters. That's a shift there, I believe. Wasn't Sam Sledge the original backup at center to Justin Evans? I don't remember. But Jake Peters was not the backup. I know that much. Oh, it looks like that's right. That's why they moved Sledge to right guard. So Tyler Kanak is your right guard. Sam Sledge is your backup right guard.
I'm trying to.
And then
I'm trying to get in there and see it.
Right tackle is going to be Turner Corcoran, obviously, and then Preston Taumua. Preston Taumua is not a tackle, but he is athletic enough for you to play tackle. He's a guy that could be center, he could be guard, he could be tackle on any side, left or right. I really like Preston Taumua. No changes really at your tight end. Carter Nelson, the milk carton continues. No one knows where he's at. Buried on the depth chart behind a former quarterback.
Is
no idea
Jalen Gramstad Ben in order with Davila?
No.
In the past 3 games.
I haven't really paid attention though, honestly, to the depth chart. Once the season rolls around, I never even look at it. Nothing changes at wide receiver.
Okay.
Look at that. I said Isaiah Mosey or Mekhi Nelson. I would bank on Isaiah Mosey being your starter. They both had 12 rushes on the year, which is, I know it's small sample size, but Isaiah Mosey, I think, had like 80 something yards on 12 carries, and Mekhi Nelson was like 45, which is not bad. But I think Isaiah Mosey just has a little bit more versatility right now. I think Mekhi is really good, though. I think he's going to be really good. He's a little bit bigger than the listed 195, though. But Isaiah Mosey, I've never understood why people are like, oh, he's a wide receiver. Like, the dude's 6'2", 210. He's an athlete. He was recruited to be an athlete.
All right.
Okay.
So for the bowl game, while we have this depth chart up for this bowl game, I'm gonna give you 4 things, and I want you to rank in order of what you're gonna be paying attention to the most out of these, and what's gonna be the bottom.
Okay.
The entire defense. So the scheme basically changed from like the scheme and the alignment now that we fired John Butler. And obviously Phil Snow's coaching the defense, but our new defense coordinator Orich is going to be there, obviously kind of giving his 2 cents. You got to believe leading up to the bowl.
Did you watch his interview by chance last night?
I have not finished watching that.
So before you finish, he basically said that he's not going to be involved in anything during game day.
Okay.
Okay.
But do you think in practice he's kind of sprinkling in a couple things?
I would imagine,
as far as like, hey, I want this person here. I want to see what this person here looks like. As far as like an evaluation thing.
I don't think so, because the 4-2-5 is very similar to the 3-3-5, but it's more closely resembles the 4-3-5, where you just take out an outside linebacker and then put in a nickel. Or varies from like 3-3-5 and a 4-2-5 is basically your jack, and a 3-3-5 is a defensive end, stand-up edge, and the 4-2-5. So he's kind of already getting a pretty good look, I think, at the talent. Plus, I believe, like Coach Rhule, and I believe like TJ Lateef today, when they say we're just focused on 25, like it's not even 2026 yet. We'll worry about that when it gets there. I firmly believe they are hell bent on trying to get a dub out in Las Vegas, and they're just going to keep it very simple defensively. They're going to get aligned. They're going to know their assignments. They're going to run very simple defense just to give themselves a better chance, because throughout the
Mhm.
entirety of the year, those guys missing fits, there was guys not even getting lined up, still moving at the point or right prior to the snap. So I think Coach Snow is like, hey guys, we're just going to figure out how the hell do we get aligned and fit our run gaps for this game. And then Coach Rob will come in and say, hey, this is what we're going to do on defense starting on the new year. I think that's how it's going personally. That I have no intel to tell me that. It's just kind of reading tea leaves from coach comments.
Yeah. So people are saying the echo is getting pretty bad. It's only when I talk though. What needs to happen here so we can fix this?
Oh, that last comment was. Oh, I think you probably just need to back out and come back in, because I tried backing out and coming back in.
Okay, let me try it real quick.
Okay, well, while we wait on Cole, if it doesn't work after he comes back in, I will try again. But typically, we get 1 or 2 echoes a show, which kind of sucks. But in the meantime, let's see. Go through some comments from Pit Snipe. I'm in transit tonight, but I'm listening. Well, what's up, Pit? Thank you for listening. Get Cole brought back in here. Let us know if you hear that echo again.
All right, am I check? It's still kind of doing it. I can kind of hear it.
Uno momento.
It's
StreamYard. StreamYard sucks. I hate it. Give me a second here. Let me back out and back in.
Okay.
There we go.
Check.
Check back up.
It's still doing it with mine. I think. Because I can hear my own voice, but when you talk, it doesn't double. Do you have your audio playing through your?
It goes through a. Mine goes through a box, and then it goes through the microphone, or the microphone goes through a audio box. That's what it's called.
Yeah, but you're like my voice. Is it just going through your headphones only?
Yep.
Thought maybe we're getting the
just
feedback
technology and stuff.
Then I guess we'll just quickly wrap up my question real quick, because I was going to talk about quarterbacks too. But so the whole entire defense scheme wise, the defensive line specifically, now that Matt Rhule's kind of coaching the defensive lines and seeing if there's any changes there with pushback. The running back room without Emmett Johnson, a lot of young running backs, or what was I gonna say? TJ Lateef, because as we've talked about, I like TJ, but I don't think
next year with
your
TJ
plan can't be he is the guy. And my worry is if he balls out during the bowl game, it could give off maybe
false hope.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like there's so many factors that go into a bowl game. Like you have a stupid amount of time to prepare for that game. When you don't normally have that time on a week-to-week basis. Also depends on who they have sit out of their bowl game. And plus,
so their top 2 tackles are out, plus a defensive end.
Yeah, and their defense has struggled. They gave up 47 against a struggling Kansas State offense.
Yeah.
Their defense kind of fell apart towards the end of the year.
I'm personally just watching effort and execution. That's all I'm watching. I don't expect us to even be close. I think it'll be 14 to 20 point game. But I want to see guys get lined up. I want to see them fit their gaps. I want to see the running backs run with power. I want to see them pass block and not whiff on their blocks, on their assignments. This is going to be a big test for both Isaiah Mosley and Mekhi Nelson. I want to see receivers get open, for the love of God. For how much hype we had in the offseason from our wide receivers, and Coach Rhule even made the comment like we can finally beat man coverage. The hell you can't. Part of the reason why Dylan had to hold on the ball so dang long was because your receivers can't get open. And I want to see, and I'm not talking about from Dane Key. He can do whatever he wants. He's gone after this year. I want to see Quinn Clark, what he can do as a receiver. He looked pretty solid in limited action. I want to see what Cortez can do. He's your best, in my opinion, he's your best 50-50 ball guy outside of probably an Isaiah Hunter. I want to see what Keelan Smith can do as well, because he's approaching his third year next season. What can he? I mean, we need to see his development, because I think you're going to see some portal entries from your wide receiver room. So that's what intrigues me most about that room. But I just want to see guys better with effort, attitude, execution. Don't really care about the outcome.
Ja'Cory,
I don't know if that really answers your question.
Is he a Husker next year?
No.
Isaiah Hunter?
No, I don't think so. But it also depends on who they get at quarterback.
Which is why
If they get Colton Joseph, no, because he's an okay thrower, but you're not going to throw it 20 times a game with Colton Joseph.
Yeah.
If they get the kid from East Carolina, maybe, because he can actually throw it. He can sling it a little bit. If they get Aiden Childs, which God, I hope they don't, but it is weird that all the coaches are following him on Twitter.
If we get Aiden Childs, I might have to.
You might as well freaking get the boosters to sign that fucking termination check right away, because that's crazy. He sucks.
He's horrible.
Yeah, but he's 6'3", 230, and he's got a big, strong arm. People get enamored with that.
Yeah, but the thing is it always comes down, can you play football?
Yeah, it's frustrating.
And he was.
I think they're gonna try and.
abysmal.
I think they're gonna swing for the fences for a couple guys like Sam Levitt. I think they'll swing for the fences, and they'll pay $4 million. I think they'll pay up to $5 million. I think if they have as much money as they say they have, they'll do that, and then they'll still be able to get the line to go with it.
I think you swing for the fences with Brendan Sorsby. I mean, your chances there are extremely low, because
you don't need a great line for a guy like that.
He's a pro quarterback for sure.
Yeah,
He'll
his
be in the
athleticism.
NFL.
Yeah, his athleticism will allow, like, if you, for the sake of discussion, if you can't find a right tackle and you rock next season with Gunnar Gatula and Elijah Pritchett at tackle, like, you'll be okay, because you have a 6'3", 240-pound quarterback who runs a 4.6 40 and will run over a dude. It'll make your offensive line look better than it is.
Before I hop out of here, this is probably annoying to listen to for people, but obviously I said swing for the fences with Sorsby. I've told you about this guy before. He's not in the portal yet because he's still playing in the playoff. But if you can't get Sorsby, I say throw a bag at Alonzo Barnett. He's the quarterback for JMU.
Oh, yeah, that kid's not staying there. Let me pull him up real quick.
Alonzo Barnett, the third, I believe.
He's not a big guy, though. Oh, I didn't mean to stop sharing my screen.
I don't really care about getting a big guy. I want a big quarterback.
I mean, he's big weight-wise. I mean, he's 6'2", 217. But Look at that. 2,500 yards, 21 touchdowns, 8 interceptions.
In passing, this was a down year for him. Look at last year.
Yeah, 2024. 2,600 yards, 26 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 60% completion. Rushing, averages 400 or 500 yards the last 2 years. 21 touchdowns in the last 2 years. Yeah, this is like the ideal guy because he's not incredibly, I mean, he's athletic, but he's not like a run first quarterback like you saw with Taylor Martinez or Tommy Armstrong. He's a really athletic pass first guy. Yeah, I'd drop him back. I'd give him $3 million easy.
We have a comment in the comment section. Lagway. And all I gotta say is no.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I like Lagway.
A lot
I mean,
of
Florida
Lagway's-
sucked, but they had so much talent. And they sucked.
yeah. And Lagway, I mean, he gets his name off of his recruiting ranking, but he was even with his legs, he was like considerably worse. Rhule. That would be a considerable downgrade.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Lagway. Plus, he's going to LSU, which would be weird.
You think so?
I think so.
Well,
I think Lane sees him and goes, "I can fix him."
if he goes to LSU, throw this name in my pool of quarterback names. Trinidad Chambliss.
I don't know if we could get him. I think he's going to get a bag just because he's really good this year.
I mean, the thing is
if you got him for $5 million, I would.
If Rhule says we got fucking money to spend, if Troy Gannon gets interviewed, says it's not going to be an issue financially, then we better pull a top of the line name. I mean, Dana Holgerson said we're going to get the best available, so let's go get the fucking best available. Sorry for cussing.
Let's go get Sam Levitt. He wanted to be here 3 years ago.
Yeah. Sam Levitt would be a name for sure, but I think he's going to Oregon. He's from Oregon.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to Oregon. That's kind of a foregone conclusion, I feel like.
Someone said, "What about Hoover from TCU?" I like Hoover, but I don't know. He's more of a pocket passer.
Yeah, he's not athletic enough, and he's going to go to Indiana. That'd be my guess. God, he'd kill it there.
Yeah, he would. But the thing is Josh Hoover's a pocket passer, but he's got mobility. He's not a statue.
This one says that's this guy right here about Mace to Maker or whatever. That's the North Texas guy, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he's dead set on going to Oklahoma State, but I think he is a true statue.
No, he's got a little.
He's not a
bit of-
statue, but he's more athletic than Dylan. But like, he's
he
not going to give
definitely
you.
would be considered a pocket passer.
Yeah, he's not going to give you a threat in the run game.
He's not like a Tom Brady, Peyton Manning type of statue, but he's like I don't know. Who would I consider a statue right now in the NFL? But low key has wheels, like maybe like an Aaron Rodgers pocket passing type.
Like Aaron Rodgers in 2018.
Yeah, like he could scoot,
Like 17
but he
nothing.
wasn't running the ball.
Yeah.
All right. Brian, it was nice to talk to you. Hopefully, do this again, but get this microphone issue figured out.
No, it's a StreamYard issue. It's been like that for a year now.
Yeah. Because I'm not gonna lie, I can hear my own voice like a second or two behind my actual
Trippy.
voice, and it's kind of throwing me off.
Yeah, it's trippy. That's why I back out when it happens.
I appreciate it.
Something to do with my microphone. I don't know what though.
I'll be in the comments section for the rest of the show. There's no echo there, so
Perfect timing, right?
all right, man. Take it easy.
All right, we'll see ya.
Easy.
All righty. I'm going to throw the call in line in the chat one more time. We'll see who else wants to call in, talk about whatever it is that you would like. Where do we leave off in the chat, though? I know we were going through a few of them here. Go Big Red all day. Damn right. Go Big Red. He's going to be a dog. Not sure who that was about. Oh, look at that. Get a 2 for 2 with Mike. Welcome back.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good.
Hey, so when I was here earlier, I forgot to ask you, what do you make of the potential hires that Rhule was talking about in his press conference today?
He said there's a couple more.
Yeah, he said that there would possibly be some more hires.
Well, there's definitely going to be a defensive line coach hire. I know who else did they only fired defensive coordinator, replace that. Fired offensive line coach, replace that. Okay. This was my thought a few months ago. Coach Satterfield's contract ends, I believe, the day after, I think it's New Year's Day, or like shortly thereafter. His contract, his 3-year contract as the offensive coordinator ends. Even though he's not the offensive coordinator, he's the tight ends coach, but he was contracted as the OC at $1.4 million annually for 3 years. That ends at the turn of the new year. I believe that it was going to be either EJ Barthel that potentially left because he was being courted by Texas last year, but Texas already hired the new running backs coach. So I think EJ's good to go. He's staying. I love EJ Barthel, by the way. So I think it's Satterfield. I think Satterfield's going to leave. I don't know why you would keep him personally. I think he's done okay developing tight ends from a recruiting standpoint. I mean, Luke Sorensen, I think, is a very underrated tight end. We're about to lay into Ahmad Hudson too. So he's actually a pretty good recruiter.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's got to be the defensive line coach, though, for sure. And probably, oh no, he's going to hire assistants, not GAs, analyst or whatever. Because he said he wants more analysts. Didn't he say that today, or was that his interview on Sports Nightly?
That might be. I don't know. I was at work when it was all going on, so I didn't hear it. I just heard that he was talking about making some more hires for the bowl game.
Yes, I believe he did mention more analysts that can help with coaching, because he said something to the extent of they don't get enough time for actual teaching, like because they're coaching and then they're recruiting and then they're doing all sorts of other stuff. They're watching film, they're prepping, whatever. So he wanted more analysts or something to kind of help with development and coaching on the field. So nothing crazy.
All right. Yeah, that's all I had. So I was curious on that.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for calling back in. Appreciate it.
No problem.
All righty. Let's see. Drop that link in there again. Some comments came through, so I'll make sure that filters to the top for you guys. Okay, where were we at with some of the comments? Sometimes I think head coaches forget how good they are at being a position coach, and Rhule absolutely should be more involved with the defensive line. 100% agree with that one. Open the checkbook. I'm so tired of being told we have money and not getting the guys we need. Amen to that, brother. How many times do we get fed this narrative that Nebraska's like loaded? In fact, there's a report that came out today. It said we're like worth like $1 billion, which was the 10th most valuable program or athletic department in the entire country. So if we're valued at the 10th most valuable program in the country, athletic department in the country, why can we not get our football team to win 8, 9, 10 games a year? I don't feel like that's a tall ask, if I'm being honest. I remember where we left off too. We were talking about 2027 recruit. Xavier Balla. Let me pull up his. Let me pull up his recruiting profile real quick. He's a 3-star or a 4-star, kind of depends on which service you're referencing. I use 247 personally, just because I can access all their stuff without being a member there, which is super helpful. So you can see here 3-star on their composite score, 3-star, top 500 overall prospect, 6 foot 215 running back. That's a big running back. That's why I like him. Big physical downhill runner. So he's announcing on January 10th at the Navy All-American game. We talked about the schools that were recruiting him: Syracuse, Boston College, Virginia, and then Ohio State as well is in that final grouping. EJ Barthel, strong ties to the Northeast. So hypothetically speaking, you get Xavier Balla, which I think Nebraska is going to eventually come away with his commitment. He's from New York. You have Jamal Rhule that just signed, who's from North Carolina. You have Quentin Ives on the roster, who's from the Northeast region. You have Amir Brown, 4-star 2027 running back, that's from the Northeast as well. So the ties that Coach Barthel has been extremely beneficial with recruiting in the Northeast. He doesn't get enough credit as a recruiter, honestly. Trey Taylor is a big reason. He's a reason Trey Taylor is here, a big reason why. He had the connections in Chicago, not really the Northeast, obviously, but Claude Mapuma as well. So this guy, though, to get back on topic, Xavier Balla, really physical running back downhill. This would be a really good combo to go with Amir Brown for this 2027 recruiting class, because Amir Brown is very, actually, ironically, his comp that I gave and Justin gave is Emmett Johnson. If you watch his film, it is an Emmett Johnson clone. It's crazy. And so this would be a really good lightning to the thunder for Amir Brown in this 2027 recruiting class at running back. One cut and go type running back, gets vertical really quickly on outside zone plays. And in my opinion, early in his career, you'd be looking at something like a very common use that we had with Dante Dowdell, short yardage, goal line situations, because quite frankly, these guys still need development. Shocking, I know, right? But Xavier still needs to develop his pass blocking ability, so that's going to limit him early in his career and getting touches that are outside of your scripted rushes at, first and goal or third and short, fourth and short type runs. But very productive sophomore season. 2024 was a sophomore year. He had 180 rushing attempts, just over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, over 6.6 yards per carry. This past season really blew up. 255 attempts, 1,300 yards, 24 touchdowns, 5.15 yards per carry. So that's going to be pretty much all that I had. I was going to talk about a lot of Coach Rhule's comments, but we kind of did that throughout the call-in show today with everybody that called in. So, I mean, if no one else is going to call in, I might as well just get this show on the road and get tuned into some playoffs. But I'll finish out with some comments, give you all a couple minutes here. I'll read through some of these comments. And if you guys want to call in, feel free to talk about whatever you want. Utah fans crying about not making the playoffs is ridiculous. Utah isn't going to beat an Oklahoma or an Alabama team. They should be happy that they might win one more game. Get over yourselves. I honestly, that's new for me. I haven't heard Utah fans crying about not being in the playoffs, because they lost to Texas Tech, who's in the playoffs, and they lost to BYU, who would have been in the playoffs if they beat Texas Tech. So I'm not sure why they would be upset. They lost the 2 games they lost were to playoff contenders. So clearly you're not a playoff team. Here's another thought. This is from Mike. Could it be that Rhule is just going to coach the D-line himself? He did make the statement today that different people could run different aspects of the program, and he could get involved. I wouldn't rule it out, but you have to have a full-time coach coaching the defensive line, in my opinion. Your head coach certainly needs to be involved in some aspect, regardless of position. His passion is offense and defensive line. Certainly he should be involved with those positions, but he also needs to be involved with linebacker and quarterback and running back. He has to be able to see the program as its entirety and not just be able to not be locked in on one particular position, in this case, the defensive line. So you have to have someone overseeing that room running the meetings, handling the developments. Sure, when they do indie work, you can absolutely say, hey, I'm going to slide over, Coach Rhule speaking. Hey, I'm going to slide over and help out with indie work. 100% that makes sense. But you need a full-time guy in that room. Maybe waiting until games/bowls are over is prudent, not trying to be contrary. It seems like the other hires are solid. I'm really hard on him, not confident in what's happening. It's hard to disagree with you there. I don't understand why you would wait until after the bowl games. I believe, and Cole and I talked about this a little bit ago, I believe they're already interviewing people and they're just going to make a final decision shortly after the bowl game to allow that coach to come in and help with portal recruiting, because probably around this time last year, we lost Jamari Butler, we lost James Williams, we lost Ty Robinson, we lost Nash Hutmaker. And Justin and I kept saying, like, Nebraska needs to go and get 3 guys for the interior defensive line from the portal. You need to get 1 bona fide starter, 1 bona fide rotational player that's a younger guy, and then maybe 1 guy that's young, that's maybe a redshirt freshman type scenario that can come in and kind of develop for the next year or 2 while you kind of transition your defensive line room. Nebraska didn't do any of that. I have no idea why they didn't do that. Then hiring a defensive line coach in February just made the problem substantially worse. And that's why, like, I think they have a guy or 2 in mind that they're just kind of waiting to get through this bowl season. They'll hire him, and then he'll be able to hit the ground running for portal season. John Jacobs, why are all of our players leaving? They're not all leaving. What are you talking about? Who's leaving? Dylan Rhule? Is that who we're talking about? That was a mutual parting of ways. That was a father trying to control not only what offense we ran, but what coaches we had. That the situation is I'm not going to say too much, but I'm not happy with how that situation turned out with that family, and we'll be fine without Dylan Rhule. Hartzog is leaving. Yeah, I'm not worried about that one either. I think Hartzog's good. I think he was, great player, great representative for Nebraska during his time here. Never had any off the field issues. Really quiet guy. Represented himself in this program very well. With that said, I don't think he had a place on this team going into next season. And I know that's crazy to say because he led the team in interceptions pretty much every year that he played. Even this year, I believe he had 3 picks, maybe 4. But he's a 5'7" corner who can't do man coverage. He's a zone guy. We'll be fine. We have plenty of talent. We have Danny Odom coming in, a 5-star corner. We'll be all right. We got Bryson Williams, 4-star corner that redshirted this past season. We'll go get somebody from the portal. We got Andrew Marshall coming back. Got Justin Rhett, former 4-star recruit, developing behind the scenes. You're going to see him a lot in this bowl game. You're going to see him probably starting next year. Rex Guthrie is going to have another year under his belt. Redshirt freshman still has a lot of development left to do, in my opinion. But we'll be all right. It's 2025 going into 2026. Brendan Sorsby just left Cincinnati. Sam Levitt just left Arizona State a year after going to the playoffs. Guys leave. That's what happens. So I personally could care less about the guys that leave, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's like, great, thanks for your efforts. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of our program. But we got to want people who want to be here. And the guys that aren't here, best of luck to you, and then, wish you nothing but the best. Here was Rhule's exact quote today. Rhule says they've made good hires. They plan to make a couple other good hires. Yeah, I don't know who that would be. Defensive line, we know it's not Elijah Robinson unless they pull it out the last hour and somehow pull Elijah Robinson away from Texas A&M. I don't know how they would do it. But I will add this. I've always found it kind of weird they have yet to release Rob Orich's salary. And usually they do that. Not they, but the media usually will get a request from the university. They'll send it in for salary, and they haven't done that yet. Which leads me, and this is what I pointed out a couple weeks ago, was if they're wanting to get Elijah Robinson, they need to be in the 1.1 to 1.4 million range for him. Because that's what Texas A&M is going to pay him, roughly, because that's how much he was making there before he left for Syracuse. Would they, or could they be still negotiating Coach Rob's salary as a result, because they're trying to get Elijah Robinson? They don't want to pay him more than what they're paying their defensive coordinator. Oh, look at that. Bama is storming back, down 17-10 now. What happened to Jeremiah Jones? Be more specific, please. I have been streaming for the last hour and a half. I have not looked at social media in the last couple of hours because I've been getting notes together for the show. So not entirely sure what could be referencing by what happened to Jeremiah Jones. Let me pull up Twitter real quick. See if there's anything I can find, but unless it was like just breaking while we were streaming, I would have zero inclination as to what you're referencing, other than like if you're asking if why he didn't play this year is because he wasn't one of the best 6 wide receivers. While very talented, he played tight end, he played wide receiver, he played edge rusher, he played outside linebacker, and he played safety, and he played cornerback, all in high school in the same senior season. So he's never been dedicated to one position. So his high ranking was strictly based on pure athleticism. In fact, it was possible that he'd be a tight end at Nebraska. It was possible he'd be an edge rusher or the rover or a wide receiver. And so if you're asking if that's kind of where your question is going with that, that would be wise, because he's not totally developed as a wide receiver. And on top of that, you return to 3 guys, or essentially 3 guys: Dane Key, Hunter, Ja'Cory Barney, and then you had Quinn Clark and Keelan Smith as well that have been here for a couple of years. So it's just part of development. I mean, would I like to see him on the field? Absolutely. But if he's on the field, it's because we had injuries. Do you think Dana is a really good offensive coordinator? I think he can be. I think part of what happened last year is there was influence from the outside about what type of system to be running that would feature a specific player more so than anything else. And then also, I think there was a lot of run plays that were checked out into passing plays, including the one that broke Dylan Rhule's leg. That was a run play that he checked out into a pass play. I've always wondered why they gave Dylan so much, complete control, honestly. Complete control, complete free reign to check anything and audible anything he wanted to. And that never made sense to me, because while, yes, he was talented, he's still very young. We saw, and it was pretty obvious his freshman year and even early in the season last year, how many issues he had post-snap, reading coverages post-snap. And there's a lot of plays, especially the Minnesota game. Go rewatch that if you have the stomach to do so. Go rewatch that game, and you'll see how many times he's checking out of plays and then they weren't successful. And I don't know why they let him continue to have that free reign. And that was really frustrating to me. There's a link if anybody wants it. We'll give it a few more minutes. But what I think, and I've talked about this for a while, what I think they're shifting to, and it was tall sign when they hired Jeep Wade. Power running scheme, spread running scheme, mobile quarterbacks, a lot of counters. That to me was pretty obvious with the hiring of Jeep Boy that is the offense they're moving to. And then I think it was pretty obvious looking back that UCLA game when they had time to develop a game plan, I guess you could say, for TJ Lateef, and it looked pretty dang good. It operated pretty good. Now UCLA's defense sucked, but it gave you hope. And I know there was some friction with other players, player specific, after that game with their family, that they felt that was a better game plan than what they were giving someone else. And as bad as we got beat against Penn State, you have to look at that game and at least see that TJ made some really tough throws. He put the ball in some tight windows. He operated fairly well given the circumstance. Given that circumstance, true freshman, his first road test was at UCLA. His second road test is at Penn State. And a whiteout, while it wasn't a full stadium, it was still 70 or 80,000 fans. Still a tough environment. You have to give him credit. The Iowa game was just a bizarre game. But there's no way Nebraska goes in the next season with TJs or anyways. But, well, look at that. We got Mr. Dave. What's going on the other Dave? Can't hear you, Dave. Mic check 1 2. Dave, I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Testing 1 2. Oh, I hear you now.
Good Bluetooth. So yeah, where's Justin tonight?
Justin he's volunteering at the gym that he works at, that he trains at. They're doing an event for some kids at the gym to come like watch the boxing event and stuff like that. So he's volunteering down there.
Oh, okay.
But we've made it an hour and a half. What you got for me tonight?
Well, I joined a little late. Elijah Robinson is dead, right?
Yeah, he's not coming. 0. Well, I won't say 0, but very unlikely.
And I hear the echo. I hope they can you hear me now, and that takes away.
There's a little bit of echoing, but it's all right.
Yeah, I just had one question. Really wondering, are we targeting that Old Dominion quarterback, or the South Florida quarterback, or a similar profile of a dual threat? What are your thoughts?
Yep. I don't know if we're for sure contacting or going to be contacting Colton Joseph. I know Nebraska is going to be going for a more dual threat, but it'll be a pass first mobile quarterback. It's not going to be someone like thinking Taylor Martinez or Tommy Armstrong were like they're a serious liability in the passing game. But the one I'm hearing that is getting some run is East Carolina's quarterback, actually, which you'll look at his rushing stats and you won't be amazed, and you won't even be like, oh, that's decent, but he's more mobile than what the stats show. He just didn't need to use his legs a ton.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks.
Anything else for me?
My Bose headsets are the only ones that work with this, so I'll hang up now, and I will Google the East Carolina quarterback. Appreciate it.
It's Kalen Hauser, or Kalen Hauser.
Okay.
All righty. Well, while we're on the topic, I'll pull up Kalen's stats real quick from this past season. And then, unless nobody else calls in, we will finally get out of here. Let me pull it up real quick. I believe it was Kalen Hauser. Caton Hauser. My apologies, the other Dave. Let me share my screen with y'all real quick. My internet is being really slow right now, but that's pretty normal, unfortunately, where we live. All righty. Everybody see that? Good. All right. 6'3", 225. Really like his size. Big, physical, strong arm quarterback from Anaheim, California. As you can see here, 3,300 yards on the year, 19 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, which is a really good TD to interception ratio. For comparison's sake, in conference play, and Dylan Rhule is 2.5 years or year and a half at Nebraska. He actually had worse stats, and this guy did it in 1 year. So in Big Ten play, Dylan Rhule was 3,096 yards, 17 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. So not too shabby for this gentleman here, Mr. Hauser. Looking through his career, so in 2022, 2023, he was actually at Michigan State and then transferred to East Carolina and then completed 61% of his passes his first year there, 2,000 yards, 18 and 11. And then best part here is you saw a nice jump year over year from 2024 to 2025. Completion percentage jumps up to 66%. He throws for 1,300 more yards. His yards per attempt is right the same. It's a 281. Touchdowns is about the same in 19, but those interceptions are cut in half, which is absolutely phenomenal. And then we'll pull up to, like I said, you're not going to look at his rushing stats and be like, oh, wow, this guy is a great runner. But he's more athletic than what these numbers allude to. Even like this game here, FAU, 11 attempts for 55 yards. Charlotte, 11 for 26. But he's an athletic quarterback that is truly a pass first quarterback. Where did this? Oh, there they are. I just scrolled right by them. So yeah, like I said, for his career, 183 attempts, 352 yards, 2 yards per carry. You're not looking at that and going, oh my gosh, this guy's a threat. No, I get that. Look at that number though. 15 touchdowns. This guy will give you another dimension in the red zone in the run game. Zone reads, QB counters, QB powers, QB draws will all be options in the run game because, like we pointed out at the top, he's 6'3" and he's 225 pounds. Big, physical runner. Athletic enough to escape the pocket when you need him to, can throw on the run. I think he's going to be more of a hot commodity in the portal than people want to admit. I really think that he is going to be a guy that Nebraska has a chance to get. You're looking in the $2.5 to $4 million range. It just kind of depends on what his market truly is. So that's all I've got for tonight, though. So thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in. We went an hour and 40 minutes, which is absolutely phenomenal. That's what we want. We want to have these longer shows. We want to be able to communicate and have conversations with all of our subscribers, with all of our viewers. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you all so much for watching. And until then, we will see you on Tuesday, Huskers live at 6 p.m. Central Time.